Today, I thought I could talk about. Today, I've been feeling really heavy. Like I woke up feeling kind of depressed, which doesn't happen, I'd say that often for me. But it's something I was feeling this morning when I woke up. And I thought it would be a good idea for a talk today of like when we're feeling heavy, when we're feeling like death, when we're feeling depressed, what is really happening? Why do we feel that way? And when we're going through feelings like that, the thing, oftentimes depression or death, and or we're even hearing an inner monologue within our mind of, I want to die, I don't want to be alive, I can't go on, this is too hard, I give up, I freaking hate life. Who even wrote the script for this life? Is when we're feeling, when we're hearing those thoughts or when we're feeling depression or death, it is a sign of our personality structure, our ego, or labels and ideas that used to define us but are starting to feel less and less relevant, being cleared or broken down or unraveled within us. And I talked about this in another video, but our ego is never, we never get rid of our ego, and our ego is just our personality structure. It's just like what makes you up as a character, what you're passionate about, what excites you, how you pronounce words or how you think about life. Like all that is just parts of your personality. And our ego goes through rounds of death to be integrated more into wholeness, more into empowerment, more into seeing the beauty of life, more into recognizing the body's own worth and value. And your ego is an aspect of your body. And when you cross over, you will have the personality of the last incarnation you lived out. But your ego necessarily isn't something that is going to be the exact same lifetime to lifetime, because a lot of our ego structure is built off of our experiences, built off of our upbringing. And so your ego does not go away. You're never going to be free from having an ego. And if you actually are like, I no longer have an ego, that should be something that is a little concerning, because that means that you no longer are have any attachment or personality, that you're just like a blank canvas, which like people that typically don't have egos are people that are losing their ego, and it isn't being actively reborn with them, are usually people that are showing up with Alzheimer's or dementia-like symptoms, and they're having a hard time anchoring themselves into reality. And that's what really our ego does, is it anchors us. It like our goals and dreams are the goals and dreams of maybe your soul, but also of your ego. And if you weren't a character striving towards those goals or dreams, or if you didn't have desires or cravings of your ego, what would be keeping you in this body? And so the ego is not something to hate, not something that we go, shut up, ego, you're dumb, I don't like you. But it's something to care for. And you can almost think of the feelings of depression, the feelings of death, the feelings of the internal monologue of, I want to die, I can't go on, I give up, this is too hard. Why did I make all these choices? Those weren't good choices to make. All that is almost like crying children within us. And they're parts of ourselves to love, to care for, to hold, support, rather than parts of ourselves that we need to silence, to snuff out, right? People that have intense feelings and try and snuff and drown them out are people that usually are lost in addictions. People that want to kill their inner child rather than love, care, and nurture it are people lost in self-destructive tendencies. And so we're not going to find freedom by trying to pretend like we're not hearing in our head that I can't go on, I want to die. And um, we're not going to find healing by avoiding those thoughts, but it's being willing to allow those thoughts to exist within us without really trying to change them. And like when we're feeling heavy, depressed, like death, not something you need to fix, something to sit with, something to be aware of, oh, I'm having a little bit more of a heavier day today. And for me, what the call of today, and I was even feeling it somewhat yesterday too, was what can I do that's really going to brighten my day up? And I would say I'm not perfect at this, but it's something that I've been working at and becoming better of when I'm feeling like death, when I'm feeling depressed, when I'm feeling an inner dialogue of I want to die. It's one, not something I really need to be concerned about because everyone feels this, whether they want to acknowledge it or not. As long as we're aligned with growth and aligned with becoming better versions of ourselves, your ego structure will go through times where it's being dismantled, or kind of like the buildings that are built within your internal world. Some of them are getting hit by wrecking balls, and it's clearing space for new golden illumined fifth dimensional buildings to be built within you. But those buildings can't be built, the fifth dimensional illumined buildings, if there isn't space cleared. And so if you are a person aligned in growth, aligned with becoming better versions of yourself, you are going to feel miserable, like you're dying, like you're depressed, and you are going to hear voices of, I want to die. Sometimes in your life, you will feel that. And maybe you're in a rather peaceful and easy time in your life. And so you might hear that a little bit less, because really what challenges or hardship inspires within us is greater growth and greater change. And it's the gift of my life is kind of hard right now. I have a lot of, and for me, like I am a substitute teacher, but my parents still help me out financially a little. And it isn't always the easiest experience to be in. And what I've learned is I don't need to try and change my internal voice of I want to die. I don't need to try and change the feelings of depression or heaviness. And the more I can just allow them to be, the easier time I'm going to have through the experience that I'm going through. And the easier time anyone will have in the experience that they're going through. And you can almost think of it like sitting in the eye of the storm. And when you're sitting in the eye of the storm, a storm of change is wiping through you, knocking things down, destroying things, but you're not getting whipped by the storm, right? You're in peace, you're in safety, and you're noticing all that's being changed within you, or all the changes that are going on around you, while still feeling serenity, while still being able to have some distance from your experience. And when we allow the feelings of, or allow our inner dialogue of, I don't want to go on, of, I feel depressed, I feel heavy, I feel like death, as we allow those feelings and those thoughts just to be there, it's you sitting in the eye of the store of change, and it's how you will get through change the easiest of of allowing change to work through you without being something you need to like starting to stop the hurricane. If you try and stop the hurricane, you're now stepping out of the eye and you're now in the middle of the storm of change. And so we don't try and stop the hurricane. We allow the hurricane to do what it's here to do, which is clear space for new aspects of our personality, greater empowerment, greater wholeness, greater love, greater honesty to be birthed within us. And the feelings of heaviness are actually what will get you to almost like a boat carrying you through choppy waters. The feelings of death and heaviness are like a boat that is carrying you to the other side of wholeness, of love, of greater appreciation of life, of seeing greater beauty and worth within yourself and with your others. And the feelings are carrying you there. And so you don't have to stop the feelings and you don't have to try and change them. And the question to ask ourselves rather is, how do I fix this feelings of death? Of what can I do that would be supportive to me on these days that feel a little bit heavier? Right? Like, what would feel rather what would feel rather good for me that would help me have a little bit of an easier time through this day? Like, and how can I show myself greater love, care, and support? Because when the child is crying within us, right, usually we don't yell at the child and go shut up, tell it to shut up, or that it needs to toughen up, or at least we probably shouldn't be doing that. But we hold the child, we care for it, we wipe the tears off its face. Maybe we play peekaboo with it. And we try and help that child feel a little bit more joy. And it's the same with you as an adult. When you feel depressed and heavy, the part of ourselves that gets fed off depression, the part of ourselves that loves the stagnancy of feeling depressed, but is a little overly attached to it and uses depression of a way to avoid connecting with others, connecting with ourselves, and a way to continue to play out patterns of toxicity within ourselves, right? When we're feeling depressed, the tendency is I need like when I feel depressed, what I usually hear in my head is I want to curl up in a ball and not do anything all day. And that is the opposite of what you should be. That is like, yeah, that is like the wrong direction most of the time for you to be moving in. When we feel depressed and heavy and we hear, I want to curl up in a ball and do nothing all day, is the day when we should try and have a really fun and exciting day. Because the parts of ourselves that are addicted to depression or get off feeling depressed want you to sit and linger in it for as long as possible to keep those parts of your ego structure alive that enjoy the stagnancy of depression. And so when we feel depressed and heavy, the question to ask ourselves is, what would make today a little bit more fun and exciting? What was something I could do today that would bring me a little bit more joy? And whether that's making some cookies for myself, I really like going to the zoo. Even though I'm not a proponent of zoos, when I'm at zoos, I always feel a little bit more excited and enlivened just because I like animals a lot. And so maybe it's a day where we go to the zoo or go to see concerts. Or for me, I know that typically in depression, we want to be alone, right? And so the opposite of that would be going to see someone that we really love and care about. And we're not going to weigh them down by feeling heavy and spending time with them, because our feelings really only impact how we are showing up in the world most of the time. When we're not willing to be vulnerable about them or not willing to acknowledge them. When you don't acknowledge something within you, or when you live in a place of, I can't be feeling this way, and so I'm going to shove this feeling down and not give it any type of outlet, is when those feelings take you over and when you'll be more negative, toxic, irritable, hanging out with people. But if you like went to a hangout with a friend and the friend asked you how you're doing today and you said, well, I'm feeling rather heavy. I kind of am feeling a little bit like death today, but I'm feeling better in your presence, or something along the lines of that. You'd be acknowledging the feeling. You'd let your friend know like how they should be showing up for you. Right? Them being completely elated, bubbly, and joyous maybe wouldn't help be the best way to meet someone who is feeling a little bit heavier that day. And like finding a little bit more of a middle ground, but people can only meet you how you'd like to be met if they know what's going on within you, and people aren't mind readers. And so when when we tell people like, I feel heavy today, or I feel a little depressed, right? The people that are true friends are going to be like, oh, well, this should be a day that I give this person more compliments, or this should be a day where I take time to really just listen about this person's experience and what they're going through. And real friends aren't going to use that against you, but they're going to use it as a reason to love, care, and support you more. And the same is like when we are fully aligned with being the best version of ourselves that we can be, it's how we should be relating to ourselves as well. Like, oh, I feel heavy, I feel depressed. Maybe even I'm feeling really anxious today, and it's like, what can I do that would make this day better? Like this, like when we are having heavy feelings is it's like when we got to take the all stars off the bench of self-love, self-care, and let them play for a little bit, and it becomes, how can I make this day the most awesome day I can have, as a way of getting me through these feelings of death and depression easier. And seeing people that you love will instantly make you feel better. As long as they're people that are usually loving and supportive to you. Doing the opposite of what your internal dialogue of depression says is how we move through depression. It's how we move through death. And finding things that bring us joy are going to help you through your day, whether that's eating something sweet, having experiences where you go, this is sweet, this is awesome. Even and like something as subtle as working out is always a mood boost. You will always feel better after working out. And sometimes if we haven't worked out in a long time, we might feel a little sleepy after working out, but that's just our body saying, I'm not used to this level of well-being, this level of like rejuvenation or endorphins pumping through my system. Because every time you work out, your body is rebuilds itself a little bit stronger. And so when we're feeling sleepy, it's our body just trying to relax, to soak in the rejuvenating chemicals and the endorphins that your body has released to help repair and rebuild your body stronger after your workout session. And so there's nothing if we get sleepy after a workout, that isn't saying we shouldn't work out. And working out will always brighten your mood. Like the only time I'd say working out wouldn't brighten your mood if you spend all day being super busy and like moving a bunch, and then was like, I want to get a workout in at the end of the day, then that's like might be a little out of balance and might actually be better for us to rest. But most of the people, a lot of people have desk jobs. A lot of people probably sit a little more than they should be sitting. And working out is something that, just like brushing your teeth, just like trying to eat fruits and vegetables, should be something we're doing regularly. Like I would say, like, and everyone's body is gonna maybe enjoy different types of workouts a little bit more, but like 3 to 5 times a week. And it's something I like I got a couple injuries in my body, so sometimes I'm only working out like 3 times a week, but it's something I really strive for of, especially when I'm having a day that feels a little hard, is I go, I know if I work out, I will feel better. I know if I go out and even go to an ecstatic dance or dance a little in my apartment, I will feel better. And the more we can do things that help us feel better when we feel death and depression, the easier time we are going to have through those experiences. And um, when we're thinking about the world right now, I'd say May of 2025, and I've heard other people channel this as well. So this isn't information that's solely coming from Luke, but um, May 2025 is like the start of humanity moving into world peace. It is the start of humans starting to move more and more into like really starting to embody peace like on a collective level. And there's been people throughout like the last there's been people throughout time that have embodied peace, but it's been on more of an individual than a collective level. And now, May 2025, we are starting to move into a place of this is the start of when world peace is, we're slowly starting to transition to world peace. And what that means is all the negative ego structures that have been built within people and built within communities and built within governments and institutions and corporations across the world are slowly now starting to be dissolved. And this is a pretty important time of 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 transformation. And so there's going to be a lot of people during this time that are feeling heavy, that are feeling dense feelings. And it's either your own internal ego structure being broken down and then being reborn at a higher octave of peace, or it's you feeling the collective ego structure and you are like a death doula or like a butterfly keeper caring for the caterpillars as they are starting to slowly grow their slowly maybe break down their caterpillar bodies. We're in the time of breakdown. So this is the start of like really things starting to break down, which might be a little scary, but it's transitioning humanity into peace, and it will be good. It will be like a positive, very positive change. And what you know, learn about death is always a sign of positive change. Anytime you feel like death, you're moving into a direction of higher levels of empowerment, of wholeness, of love. And it's the same with the world. When the world is going through change, and it might look negative in the news, and it might look negative with some of like the things, headlines we see, but it's all preparing humanity to come together in greater community and love and peace. And some of us are holding space, whether we're aware of it or not, for the collective ego structures, for the collective negative agendas to be broken down. And we will be feeling more during this time. We will be feeling heavier feelings. We will be feeling more exhaustion because we are essentially like we are essentially sending some of our energy into the areas that are being destroyed that help it break down a little bit more seamlessly and then help the new build a little bit quicker. And it's something we may not be fully aware of, but this really is a time for self-care and self-love. And the choices we make that are toxic or aren't good for us, we should try and make a little less during this time. And it's never like we're doing something wrong. Like if we are like, oh, I'm trying to give up smoking weed and I smoked weed today, or oh, I'm trying trying to like eat less sugar, but I just wolf down to ice cream sandwiches. Like that's a part of yourself to love because we only play out negative patterns when when we're looking for greater soothingness. And if we took the parts of ourselves that are addicted to sugar, or addicted to weed, or whatever we're addicted to as the next part of ourselves to love, and like the related to it like a crying child that's just trying to find the first thing within its reach to help it feel better, right? If the parent comes over and holds that child and says, I love you, honey, it's okay. It's okay, crying child, that you just stuck three suckers in your mouth trying to make yourself feel better, right? The child would soothe and maybe it would spit out two of the suckers. And it's the same with whatever addictive patterns we're playing out is when I can show myself greater love, greater care, greater kindness, and literally just give myself compliments, like just say, I love you more often. Or like, I am beautiful. I'm amazing. And name some of the things I did right today. Like I clean my apartment and I have the right to feel great about that. I went grocery shopping and I have the right to feel good about that. I got a workout and I have the right to feel good about it. That the more we can name things that went right, the better we will feel and the more we will make choices from that feeling of well-being, which or feeling good, which will then attract us more to choices of well-being rather than choices of numbing, of toxicity, of things that are just we're reaching for an instant moment of self-gratification without thinking about the long-term consequences. And when we're going through death and depression, I was like trying to think of, I was like, there's another point, but I can't remember what it was, and it came back to me. When we're thinking about death and depression, something to be aware of is what are the patterns that are being amplified within me during this time. Because when we're going through a feeling of death, usually the parts of ourselves that are addicted to toxicity will be amplified as a way of it being cleared out of you. And so it's something to be aware of is when I feel heavy, when I feel depressed, when I feel like death, can I be a little bit more aware of my mind and what my mind is thinking about and have space from that? Or pull back a little bit and go, what would actually be in my highest choices today? What would actually be right? Like today, I've been feeling like, oh, I need a girlfriend, or like even like a stronger craving for sex. And I'm aware of that is coming from the place of the part of me that feels like, oh, if I go out and find someone to have sex with, if I go out and get a girlfriend, then maybe I won't feel so heavy and like death. And like that would be a choice of instant gratification. It wouldn't be a choice that would actually be serving my long-term alignment of aligning with truth, which is truth is taking things slowly. Truth is taking the time to really get to know people. And most of the people you meet are going to be friends. They aren't going to be partners. And if we're coming from a place of I'm feeling super heavy, I need to find a partner, is that coming from the part of you that lives off instant gratification, or is that coming from your highest alignment and wisdom? And I'm aware, and like, so today I like journaled about my desires and was aware, and like something to be aware of when we're feeling death and feeling like heavy is one, if I write journal about it, if I write poetry about it, if I find songs and either play them on an instrument or sing them on Spotify along with the artist, that will be expressing those feelings. And as I'm expressing them, those feelings, cravings, desires will become lighter. They'll become easier because I'm expressing them out of me. And if the feelings and desires come back, I didn't do anything wrong, and in truth, or I didn't like manifest backwards. And in truth, they didn't come back they didn't come back, but almost like layers of a building. Maybe the wrecking ball within me knocked off the top part, and then me turning that rubble into some beautiful poetry or beautiful journal entry of how much I crave whatever I'm craving in that moment. It was like the cleanup crew coming and taking that rubble away, but there's still maybe like five more layers of the building. And so when the feelings come back, they don't really come back, but we're just feeling the next layer of the building that just got crushed or is getting cleared away. And so if you're feeling like, for me this morning, I did like 30 minutes of breath work, and I literally felt like I was like breathing this heavy feelings out of me. And I felt so light and so good after just like doing, it's called like dragon's breath, but you're essentially just like pumping your belly and breathing out of your mouth. Like, and I did that for 30 minutes and I felt so good afterwards. And then like an hour or two later, felt super heavy and super heavy and like death again. And I felt a little less depressed, but some of the feelings were resurfaced. And it's just the next layer of the building being cleared out within you. You didn't like do something wrong by, oh, I felt so good because I just did some art or I just did some breath work or I just worked out, but now I'm feeling awful again and I must have reabsorbed those feelings I cleared. No, you didn't reabsorb them. You're just becoming aware of the next layer that's being cleared out of you, because it might not be like, oh, I wrote a poem about how I feel like that today and now everything's fine. It's like, no, you maybe expressed a little bit of it, but there's still an iceberg beneath the water that's still being pulled up to the surface. And and when we're learning to when we're learning to care for our body better, we are going to start to notice more and more the things that aren't serving our body. The more you align yourself with well-being, the more you're discerning about who you should date and who you shouldn't date, the more you're going to become clear on, the more your discernment is going to become clearer, and you're going to start to see more of what's in alignment for you and what's not in alignment for you. And the first step is just taking better care of yourself, giving yourself a couple more compliments, and letting yourself know that it's okay no matter how you feel. And your feelings aren't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's actually a sign about how powerful or how amazing or how aligned with truth and alignment you are by feeling heavier feelings, by feeling like death. And people that aren't taking good care of themselves are going to feel heavy and like death more often, because toxicity is a vibration that slowly kills you. It slowly takes away more and more of your life. And so you will feel heavy in death like more often. And so I bring this up because something to be aware of is, who am I surrounding myself with? Am I surrounding myself with people that are taking good care of themselves, or for the most part are trying to be aligned in truth, are trying to be aligned in becoming better versions of themselves, even if they're still lost in some addictive patterning? And because we often, when we spend time with people, we start to match their breath. And people talk a lot about taking on other people's energy when you spend time with them. But I would say negative energy is like such a dense and heavy vibration that it's not actually able to leave that person's field, but you can harmonize with that person's negativity by matching their breath. And when you match their breath, your neurons sync up with their neurons, and you start to mirror to them what they're feeling. And so if there's someone that really doesn't take good care of themselves and is constantly lost in negativity and toxicity and irritability, and you're spending a lot of time with that person, you are going to start to mirror that more, because our ego oftentimes as a default is aligned to feel the most intense feelings in the room, whether those are positive or negative. And so if we're spending a lot of time with people that are negative and we're choosing that, like, because sometimes you're going to be in situations, maybe you're living with your parents, they're more negative and you don't really have a choice. You still have to save up money. Like, there's no reason to be hard on ourselves for that. And I've been through that experience. But if we do have choice to how much little or how much time we spend with someone, maybe our partner's super depressed or something like that. Can we be aware of, I am going to start mirroring if I'm spending a lot of time with them and I am, and most people aren't like masterful in their breath enough to always catch when their breath is syncing with another person. I'm going to start to feel like death and heaviness more often because I'm mirroring what my partner or what someone I'm spending a lot of time with feels like. And so the feelings, right, could be the world, or they could be people we're spending too much time with who are in a little bit more negativity and toxicity. And so if we're in relationships with people like that, we probably should see them less. And if we're dating someone who's lost in depression and we're not depressed, or lost in addiction and we're not addicted, like, probably not people we're meant to be dating. And when we start to be more discerning is when we start to find more of our freedom, more of our authentic selves, because authenticity is going to choose what's serving your well-being, not trying, it wouldn't choose trying to save others or trying to stay with people so they don't have to face their disappointment of you leaving. And so I hope that helps. I hope that touched on a good ray of why we might be feeling heavier feelings like during this time, or what are some of the things we can do that help us through those feelings. And I just want to thank everyone for watching this. I love you all so much, and I'm grateful for your time and attention. Thank you. Bye.